All right, let's jump right into this incredible story. We're talking about a guy named Francisco D'Angelo. Now, this isn't just anyone. He spent more than 30 years climbing the corporate ladder. And for 13 of those years, he was the CEO of a huge international logistics company. I mean, talk about a successful, stable career, right? And then, at 56 years old, he just decides to walk away from it all and start completely from scratch.
And this was the kind of advice he was getting. Not a single person was cheering him on. Instead, it was just warnings. Everyone he talked to basically told him, you're making a catastrophic mistake. You're jumping into this horrible, unknown abyss. Just imagine hearing that from every single person you trust. It's pretty intense.
So that really brings us to the big question here, doesn't it? Why would a successful CEO at 56 risk everything he's built? What could possibly push someone to just abandon a 3-decade career for a future that's, well, completely uncertain? And what's so fascinating is that the answer isn't about running away from something. It's about running towards something new.
So, to really get why he did it, you have to understand this feeling of being kind of trapped by your own success. It's a place that a lot of us can probably relate to, that dreaded comfort zone.
You see, for Francisco, these little signs just kept building up over time. His work started to feel repetitive. He realized the learning had just stopped. He even described it as being in a state of inertia. And on top of all that, he had this little bug nagging at him, that entrepreneurial itch to build something that was truly his. And then the pandemic hit. That global pause was the final catalyst, the final push he needed to stop just thinking about it and actually do something.
And this right here, this really gets to the heart of his philosophy. He basically realized, look, life is going to be hard no matter what. Staying in a job that's comfortable but totally unfulfilling, that's hard in its own way. And leaving that job to start something new, well, that's hard too. But here's the key difference, and it's a big one. Only one of those paths actually leads to growth.
So this question, it basically became his mantra. It was the one thought that cut through all the noise, all the fear, all the warnings from everybody else. He's 56, and he realizes that the window of opportunity for a massive change like this, it's closing. It was literally now or never.
And wow, what a change it was. I mean, this was not just some simple career pivot. Nope. Francisco basically launched himself into what he calls a forefront challenge. We're talking about a complete simultaneous reinvention of his entire life.
Let's break this down because it's wild. 1. He went from being a salaried CEO to an entrepreneur where suddenly he's responsible for everything. 2. He jumped from an industry he knew inside and out, logistics, to high-end fashion, something he knew almost nothing about. 3. He moved from Peru to the super competitive market of Miami in the US. And 4, as if that wasn't enough, he started this whole thing with his wife, turning their marriage into a business partnership. I mean, any one of those is a huge life change. He did all 4 at the same time.
So you have to be asking, how on earth do you even manage that? All that complexity, all that risk? Well, the thing is, Francisco didn't just throw away his CEO skills. He adapted them. He created a whole new playbook for this completely new life.
But before we get into the playbook, we have to talk about the number one fear, failure. That constant nagging question. Is this business even going to work? Is anyone actually going to walk through the door? He said the terror of just opening a store and hoping to sell enough to pay the rent, that was with him all the time.
So how did he fight that fear? Not with blind optimism, that's for sure. He fought it with cold, hard data. He set up these super clear, non-negotiable metrics for every single store. Is our rent less than 20% of our sales? Check. Is our payroll under 18%? Check. And here's a big one. Are more than 30% of our customers coming back? These numbers, these KPIs, they became his guardrails. They turned that overwhelming emotional fear into a problem he could actually manage. He also brought 5 core principles with him from his corporate days. First, have a clear 5-year vision. Second, you, the leader, have to personally manage the most important relationships. Third, build the absolute right team. Fourth, and this one's non-negotiable, you own the cash flow. You can't delegate that. And finally, number 5, you have to drive a culture of constant learning. These are the pillars, and you know what? They work whether you're in a giant skyscraper or a tiny startup.
And when it came to building that team, he had one golden rule. He said you have to hire for values. Find people whose personal values line up with where the company is going. Why? Well, think about it. You can teach someone how to work a cash register, right? You can teach them inventory management, but you can't teach integrity. You can't teach passion.
Okay, but what about working with his wife? I mean, that's a whole other challenge. They were smart about it. They set super strict rules. She was in charge of design and marketing. He handled operations and finance. And they had 100% trust in each other's domain, no micromanaging. And maybe the most important rule of all, they literally scheduled personal time into their calendar. Like, okay, it's Wednesday after 5 p.m., no more work talk. They had to do that to protect their relationship from the business, which is just always on.
So after all that, what's the takeaway? What can we learn from this incredible journey? Because his story, it's really not just about starting a business. It's about how to tackle any major reinvention in your career.
And his number one piece of advice? It all starts with passion. He's adamant that it's the only thing that gives you the energy to survive the insane hours and the constant stress of building something new. He says without that passion, you're just going to burn out. It really is the fuel for the entire journey.
And he has a really practical way to get started. You don't have to just leap off a cliff like he did. You can start small, test the waters. Let's say you want to be a coach. Well, maybe you offer your services for free at first. The whole point is to build up your own confidence, to prove to yourself that, hey, I can actually do this. I can add value. And while you're doing that, you should make a list of your non-negotiables. What are the things you're just not willing to sacrifice anymore? Family time? Travel? Your own health? Write it down.
And that really brings us to what might be the most powerful lesson of all. So many of us, we get attached to our job titles, right? CEO, director, manager. We let that title define who we are and what we're worth. But Francisco says that's a total trap, because that title, it's temporary. It will disappear one day.
So I'm going to leave you with the same challenge he poses. Just for a second, forget your title. What have you actually learned? What skills, what abilities have you built over the years? Because that stuff, the resilience, the ability to learn, the leadership, that's your real value. And that's the stuff you'll carry with you into your next chapter, whatever it turns out to be.